Welcome to the World's Strongest Man Heats prediction. I'm here together with Stian Tue, Norway Strongest Man under 90 kilos. And we just got both the events and the groups, the heats for the World's Strongest Man starting later today. It kicks off in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And we will start first off going through the heats events, and then we will look into the different groups and talk about what we think who will go on to the final this weekend. Hi Stian, you ready?
Hello, I'm ready.
Okay, so the heat event kicks off with the loading race. I believe it's 5 implements, three lugs attached together. Then you have an anvil, you have a Husafell sandbag, and a huge sandbag. So we have 5 different implements which will be carried in sand and loaded. I don't know the distance. Do you know?
I'm not sure about the distance, but I can't imagine it being more than 10, maximum 15 meters due to being so many implements and being on sand. But I'm not sure. I haven't seen.
Yeah, but I think it will be a very tough loading race. I would imagine a lot of athletes won't even finish it. Depends.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Second event is the deadlift machine. I know a lot of people have been missing this one for years. So
including me.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to see this one. So it's like a deadlift apparatus with one keg falling down into the apparatus every repetition. So it's like 4 reps, and I think it also will be timed if you finish it. The third event is a log ladder, 5 different timber logs, starting off at 140 kilos and finishing on 180 kilos. So it's for reps or for time. The fourth event in the heats is a Coleman's wheel. I believe Terry Holland said it was 200 kilos in hands, carried in a 360 degrees as far as you can go. The fifth event is a kettlebell toss in the sand, 7 kettlebells as fast as possible. And the second and third place in each group will then have a stone off to see who will be the second athlete in each group to go through to the final. Yeah, first of all, Stian, what do you think about the events? Is it too cardio based, or is it a good measure to see who's up for the final?
I like the events. I don't think it's too cardio based. I like it being a little bit lighter and a little bit more movement in the heats. Perhaps it's a less chance of injuries before the finals, so we get the best ones healthy and somewhat not destroyed for the finals.
Yeah, especially now when it's just 1 day rest before the final. So not like back in the days when they did it over 10 days. Okay,
Yeah.
So let's jump into the groups. So in group 1, we have Konstantin Janasha from Georgia. We have Pavlo Kordiaka from Ukraine, Paul Dwyer representing Ireland, Tom Stoltman from Scotland, Bobby Thompson from the States, and Eddie Williams from representing Australia. Yeah. So clearly, Tom Stoltman, the last 2 years champ, is the number 1 seed here. What do you think about the group in general, Stian?
I think it's one of the easier groups to predict. Tom and Pablo, I can't imagine anybody else being able to pit any of them in these events. Janasha, if he was as good as he used to be, would be dangerous, but he didn't press at Europe's, and so I imagine those two going pretty easy for both.
Yeah, but I mean, I would say the same, but if you think about it, so I would usually say, okay, Tom is a clear winner of the group. But then when you think about Europe's, Pablo Cordiaca, if he places okay in the deadlift machine, he could be winning the group. And then it would be clear, okay, Tom would win the stone off. But if Tom wins and Cordiaca goes up in the stone off, I mean,
Yeah, I imagine it being versus against Ganasha, I think, and I'm guessing he's hungrier and will he will beat Ganasha on stones.
fitter.
I think.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So I would agree with that one. So Tom and Pablo Cordiaca from Group 1. In Group 2, we finally have Cheek Sanu, Aaron Bibi, in World's Strongest Man. So good to see him down in Myrtle Beach. Uh, then,
Absolutely.
then we have Gavin Bilton, Fadi El Masri, Thomas Evans, Oleksiy Novikov, and Luke Stoltman. So here, of course, Oleksiy Novikov as seed
Of course.
one. Uh, and I mean, Oleksiy Novikov is clearly into the final. He will win the group, and if he goes on to the stone off, he will also go through. But who will be the second qualifier?
This one is a bit worse than the first one. I was thinking it will be a toss-up, Luke and Tom Evans, but I think Luke will pit him on the stones. Because Luke is a faster loader than we think. He's good at log. He loses some points in the deadlift, where Thomas Evans showed at Arnold's he was a good deadlifter, but I think Luke will pit him.
Yeah, I think the biggest the deciding factor will be who Luke goes up against in the stone off. I mean, Gavin Belton, he's been good at the stones before. I think he could even beat Luke, but most likely Luke, Luke will be placing second and will have a advantage. So, yeah, I think Alexi and Luke Stoltman will be going through from Heat 2. But then again, I don't know if you've seen that Luke still didn't get his bag. So that could be a deciding factor if like he doesn't have his equipment and if it messes with his head. I mean,
Yeah, but he's getting equipment from SPD, or I saw his video. He's getting equipment, so not his own, but it should be fine.
yeah. Okay, so Heat 3, we have Graham Hicks, number one seed Mitchell Hooper, and not number one seed Mateusz Kliskowski, Matthew Ragg, Spencer Remick, and Ivar Smokestellis. This group is tougher.
This group is insane.
Yeah, I'd say
It's it
clearly that
it has
this.
to be the group of death.
Yeah, I'd clearly say this is the group of that. Both because you have like Ivars in there, and also because of Matthew Ragg. If he could go into the stone off, that could be a tough one. After what I've heard about his stone lifting. But first off,
Yeah.
who will win this group? Will it be Mateusz or will it be Hooper?
The thing is, I actually think Matej will win every event and lose a lot of points on the deadlift. So it depends on how he does on the deadlift. I know Hooper says he's really good at these, but I feel Mateusz will win everything except the every the deadlift, and then but Hooper will be second on everything except the deadlift. So it's not too many points he has to do well on the deadlift to not be in the stone up. So it's hard to say for me.
Yeah,
Because if he doesn't win every single one, Hooper will go to the final directly.
yeah. I think Hooper will win the group. I don't really feel like Mateusz looks that in a good shape. Not only like strength wise, but his conditioning. I don't think his conditioning looks that good. And to be fair, that could be a struggle in both the log ladder, in the Conan's wheel, even in the loading race. But I do think Mateusz will win the kettlebell toss, and he could take a win in the other ones as well. But I think Hooper is yeah the favorite in this group.
He's probably the favorite, but I just have a hunch that the Mateusz will be better than we think, and he will know he has to do better in those events to avoid the stone off. So
Yeah, I hope so.
I just, yeah. But I think no matter what, it will be those two in the final. But it depends on who has to do the stones. But I don't think anybody can beat them on the stones
I,
without knowing too much about Matt Rags.
yeah, I hope. I hope you're right. Even Smoke Stelis has been good in the stones before, but yeah,
Yeah,
I mean Hooper. If Hooper's in the stone off, I'm sure he will go through. But you never know about Mateo's confidence. If he get into the stones and he's like frustrated and everything, uh, yeah, I wouldn't bet my money on it. But yeah, I
yeah. But he can also be both ways. He can be frustrated and then he can lift 40 reps on the stones because he is so angry. So
yeah.
it's a hard one to. It can go both ways.
Let's
But
move
I
on.
I, I think it will be the good way.
Let's move on to Group Four. I think Group Four is the easiest group. The
Easiest group, but very hard to predict,
Yeah,
except for Shaw.
you
The
have
second place is
Adam Bishop, Kevin Ferris, Rauno Heinla, Gabriel Room, Jakob Schoonwinkel, and Brian Shaw. And for sure, Brian Shaw is the number one seed here. And I mean, all the other athletes are good, but I feel like most of the other groups have like a number one seed and a number two seed. And I feel like in this group, almost all the other ones is like number three seed, even though we've seen both Kevin Ferris and Bishop and Room in the final before. I think Shaw has the easiest group.
by far.
So Shaw could be losing points in the Conan's wheel. He could be losing points in the loading race because of his speed. But I'm sure he will
Yeah,
go.
but actually, I saw last year
Mhm.
he actually beat like Bishop in the loading race with
Mhm.
5 implements. So I think he could actually do pretty well.
I
He
hope
was
so.
only 2 seconds behind Fairs also, and he's lighter this year. So I think he actually could do better than we expect.
Yeah, I hope so.
But I can't imagine him being too good in Conan. So
No, but even if Shaw places second, which I don't think he will be in the final for sure.
yeah,
But the deciding factor here will be, or not the deciding factor, the interesting thing here will be who will be the second athlete going into the final. Who will that be?
yeah. I think it will be Kevin Fairs
Kevin Ferris.
due to Bishop being his tricep. I think he will lose a lot of points on the log, and I don't think Fairs will lose enough points on the deadlift to make up the
But
difference.
do you think Ferris will have enough points to even be in the stone off though? I mean, if you look at the events, Kevin's deadlift isn't the best. His log is far from good.
Yeah, but I then like but
His
I
kettlebell
saw
toss is bad. I mean, the
I saw
event.
he had 4 reps on the log last year, and the Bishop had the Reum had 6, I think, and Bishop had 7. But I don't think Bishop can do close to what he did last year due to his tricep. So I think he will be behind Fairs on the log.
Yeah, but I still think that log is the only event Ferris will beat Bishop in, and
At the loading, he beat him last year in the loading with the times.
yeah, yeah, I think this one is interesting. I mean, Room,
It's a hard one. And Reum, like he was not far behind last year,
no,
and if he had improved,
he's surprised everyone. And after listening to the 10 minutes talk with Jakob Schoonwinkel with Hooper, he's interesting as well. Like he said,
yeah, he sounds confident.
he said his specialty was like speed, and this event is this heat is a lot about speed. I mean, the loading race. I feel like that would also be something for the kettlebell toss. But yeah, I mean, it's tough when it's your first world's strongest man.
Yeah, it's a hard one.
What about Rauno Heinla?
He's a good log lifter. He's a good deadlifter. I heard
He's
he's a good
actually good in
kettlebell
Conan,
thrower.
even good in Conan's wheel. They said.
Yes, and he can do something. It's a hard one. It's like it's not the top guys, but they are very even in the group.
Okay, so who's your final finalist from Heat 4? Brian Shaw and
I think Kevin Fairs.
okay,
Just have a
I don't think Kevin Ferris. I will go with I'll go with Bishop. But
all right.
I actually think all the other athletes over Kevin Ferris. I think Jakob Schoonwinkel, Room, and Heinla over Ferris. I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's all right.
Okay, let's move into the last group. So in Heat 5, uh, maybe no, it's still a tough group. We have Coco, Sean Stephen Carbu. We have Mark Felix, either Ingolfsson Melstead, Trey Mitchell, Evan Singleton, and Paul Smith in the last group. This one's tough. I mean, in the final, I would clearly put my money on Trey Mitchell over Evan Singleton. But with these events, if Evan does what he's capable to do, I think he will win the group. But I'm not sure. Like Evan, the last 3 years, he says he's been working with a mental coach and all those things. But I don't. Yeah, I really don't hope it will be
I
like the last 3 years. But I have a tough time to believe that this year will be like everything fixed.
yeah, I I'm going with Trey Mitchell winning and Athar winning the Stones versus Evans. Because the last years he's been talking. Everybody's been talking about how good he is, but he can't show it, and nobody's talking about Athar, and he's been showing it. So I'm going with Athar this year because history repeats itself,
Yeah. Do you think
and I
any?
think Trey will do it
Do you think
fast enough.
Felix, Coco, or Paul would have any shot on coming into the
No,
Stonehoff?
no,
No,
absolutely not.
no, I don't think either. It would take an injury, and we can't predict an injury. So
No, but
I will I will put my money on not the history to repeat. So I will put my money on Trey Mitchell and Evan Singleton into the final, and I'll
it will probably be a more interesting final that way. But I
yeah
don't think so.
I will say Singleton will go into the Stonehoff, but I hope that Singleton wins the group and Trey Mitchell will easily win the Stonehoff. Okay, so going through the our finalists. So from Group 1, we have Tom Stoltman and Pavlo Kordiaka. From Group 2, we have Alexei Novikov and Luke Stoltman, right?
Yeah,
From Group 3, we have Mateusz and Mitchell Hooper. From Group 4, we have different opinions. Both of us think Brian Shaw will go into the final. You think Kevin Ferris, and I put my money on Adam Bishop. From in the Group 5, we both think that no, we don't. Yeah, we both think that Trey Mitchell will make the final. I think Evan Singleton will finally make it into the final, and you think Ether will edge out Evan on the stone off.
yeah.
Yeah, so there we have it, guys. Uh, Thank you for watching, and thank you, Stian, for joining me in our prediction.
My pleasure.
Glöm dig nog, hemglöm.